Welcome to the Fill Your Cups podcast. We're your hosts, Morgan
and Bailey. Hey guys! Welcome to this week's episode. We have kind of a fun one coming towards you. So this week is like a Let's Get Deep episode, but it's still going to be kind of uplifting and encouraging. K-Love. No, I'm just kidding. You know. But we are doing the top 12 mantras that encourage our life and that we kind of have on repeat in the back of our heads. And so we're each going to do 6, and we are really excited about that. But before we get too far into the episode, what's filling your cup?
Yeah, today I have water, but I did add one of Julia's Arbonne Sport Hydration Pack things. I had one earlier today too, but I ran a 5K with your husband.
I know.
And his sister, but also my friends. And I ran a 5K with them, and it's so hot and sunny that we were sweating so much, and I could feel it. You know, whenever you do a bunch of cardio and you're outside and you feel the salt on your skin.
Yes. I
had that earlier, so I thought to myself, I should probably boost my electrolytes a little bit. So I've got one of those hydration sport things. I'll link it in the show notes. But they're really good. They're similar to Liquid IV or Liquid IV is what I was thinking of, but they have less sugar.
Yeah.
They're more focused on the electrolytes and the salt and stuff or whatever, which I love. So that's what I have. What about you?
Good. I've just got some water today. I did forget my water bottle at home, so it's just a cup of water this time. But I feel like I have had so many different drinks this morning. I had some Taco Bell Dr. Pepper.
Oh my gosh.
Some coffee. I had some orange juice, and I'm drinking water, and I'm like, this feels really good.
Good.
Let's just drink some water.
Good. I love it. Well, we have a shout out this week. We were really excited about this one. So as you guys know, we post every Friday, usually, on our Instagram at Fill Your Cups Podcast. Go follow us if you don't. We post on Fridays our Fill Your Cup Friday, and we ask our followers to tell us what's filling their cups that week. Just kind of reflect back on the week, think about what's filling your cup before you go into the weekend, because obviously, well, maybe not obviously, but for me, the weekends are often very cup filling. I have a lot of things. Yeah, so it's nice for me on Friday before I even start the weekend and start the fun necessarily, thinking about, okay, what did I do this last week? That was really fun. And it really made me feel good and warm and fuzzy. So we posted that this last Friday, and we had a response from Meadow Gates. There's actually 2 S's on this handle. So Meadow Gates, and she said, got to see my man after 11 weeks of him at basic training.
Woohoo!
Which is so fun.
Oh, that's so exciting. I don't know how you guys do that. Like how the military wives and the military girlfriends do it.
Amazing.
11 weeks? Oh my God.
That would definitely be cup filling if I had a partner for that long and got to see him. And,
that's so exciting. And thank you for participating in that and letting us know what's filling your cups. Because every time you guys respond with what's filling your cups, it fills our cups.
It really does. Yeah, I love to see what you guys are doing and what is making you happy and whatnot. So thank you for responding there. We've been kind of standing around this number for a while, but we are actually at 192 followers on Instagram. So not a whole lot, but we're so close to 200. So if you have a second and could either just share one of our posts on your story or tag someone in the comments, or just go give us a follow if you don't already, because what the heck? Why would you be listening and not follow us on Instagram? Go do that, because we would love to get to 200. That would be so fun.
Yeah.
And that would just be...
we can get to 200 in 4 days by the end of July.
Well, this is coming out in August, I think.
Well, then we'll definitely be at 200 followers by the end of August. It's a goal.
Yes. So that was our shout out. Very fun. And now we can kind of go into our episode.
I know. I'm really excited for this episode. So you had this idea. I'd love to hear where it came from. But whenever I did hear, or whenever I saw it on kind of our giant list of like episode ideas that we just randomly add to whenever we get an idea, I was like, I actually really like that, because I feel like we always talk about quotes on here, or we'll be in the middle of an episode and be like, wait, I heard this one thing this one time on this one random site and blah, 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 blah. And yeah, so I love them. I feel like I actually do live my life by these quotes, or like I do see ones that all of a sudden it makes something click for me. And I'm like, oh yeah, okay.
Yeah. I think for me, whenever I first started To Be Mindset and rethinking my nutrition, Alana, the founder of that program, she has so many little phrases that she says all the time that helped me whenever I was just bettering my nutrition. Yeah. And so ever since then, I pick up and keep phrases in my back pocket so that they can really honestly keep me motivated. But now I also feel like I use them to just help comfort me if it's something that I don't know, when I think about the life I want to live, I like to have little phrases that help guide me to that direction. Yeah. And kind of help focus me, I think. Yeah. Because I think sometimes we just get so much coming in at us at all times and people telling us all sorts of things. And sometimes having these little phrases or quotes or mantras is really what I've been thinking of them as. Yeah. It helps ground me. So I thought of this episode idea a while back when I think it was actually it might have been after our lessons that we learned from a year of podcasting. And I was thinking when I'm listening to like a self-development podcaster, when they list things out like that, or they say 5 best tips for starting a podcast or something like that, or they say my 10 best tips for getting in the best shape of your life or something like that, I feel like that's something that really grabs my attention. And it's something that is bite-sized and digestible, I feel like, and it's more memorable. I'm a list person, so it helps me to be able to be like, oh yeah, tip number 1, tip number 2, tip number 3, that sort of thing. So that was what made me think of it. And then just recently I had some girlfriends in town, and one of my girlfriends was telling me, oh yeah, this podcast that I listened to, it's a really good self-development kind of mindset kind of podcast. They just did this episode about mantras to live by, and I was wondering, what? And I was like, are you kidding me? I have this on a shared note with Bailey as something that we want to do. And so it just brought it back to the forefront of my mind. So that was kind of how I thought of it. And then I feel like mindset is everything. I feel like our outlook and our perspective matters so much in getting us where we want to go. So yeah, it's just good to have these in our disposal of something that we can look to and something that can guide us and focus us.
I completely agree. I also like that both of our mantras, I feel like, serve such a different purpose. Like,
I know
yours have a very different feeling than mine do. And I just think that shows you like where we both are at, it's different stages of our life and things like that.
And what we need.
Yeah. So I don't know. I'm excited. Do you want to start us off?
Yeah. So I've said this one on the podcast for sure.
Oh, mine are repeats.
But
that's crazy.
Yeah. But just so our listeners know, probably the style of this episode, we will go back and forth of our mantras, but we'll break down a little bit. Some of them are very self-explanatory, but we'll break down a little bit like where they help us most in our lives. And I guess that's the breakdown of the episode. So first one for me is little by little, a little becomes a lot. And I love this one because I first heard it, I think, from my coach's coach, Darla, whenever I was doing Beachbody coaching or body coaching is what it's called now. And I think she posted it on a story or something at some point. And I love it because it's true of good and bad things. Yeah. So little by little, a little becomes a lot. Oh, the reason it's motivating is because, for instance, now go back to our most recent episode about body image and realize I'm not saying that this is the most important thing. But for instance, like with weight loss, which was something that I was interested in at the time, it gets really demotivating when you don't lose like 5 pounds in 5 days or something.
Of course.
But
when you're like 0.2.
Yeah. But if you lose 0.8 pounds in 5 days or something, and you think, well, little by little, a little becomes a lot. 0.8, if you do that every week for 10 weeks or whatever, that's going to really add up. Yeah. And so little by little, a little becomes a lot. At the same time, it goes the opposite way too. The scale is just a very tangible version. That's why I'm using that as an example. But of course, if you go up 0.8 pounds for 10 weeks at a time, it's gonna really add up the opposite direction. Now, I feel like this is applicable. I use this in my workplace. I use this I use this in my relationship.
Yeah.
I feel like this is something where I think about it in honestly every sphere of my life. I think about it with the podcast.
Mhm.
Just now we were talking about we have 192 followers. You know, one more follower is not that much, but one more follower every day for, little by little becomes a lot. So, and it can also obviously take you back. So I think about that too whenever I used to be really bad about the all or nothing mindset.
Yes.
And how
it's hard not to go there.
It is. But then when I have this in the back of my head where I'm like, today maybe I indulged in a slice of pizza or something.
Mm-hmm.
That's something little.
Mm-hmm.
But if I keep doing that little thing over and over and over, if I have 10 slices of pizza, that becomes a lot.
Yeah.
But if I have a slice of pizza and then I have some salad or whatever, or just something nicer for my stomach, then that little by little doesn't add up as much because I'm not doing it over and over. So it really goes with our habits that
it does.
That your life is a reflection of your habits, and the fact that everything you do repeatedly is going to shape your life. So, but I just think it's a cute little.
No, I like that one a lot. I do think it's a really encouraging one whenever you feel like you don't know where to start, or like, how can this all change? How can I do it? And it's like a little by little. Like, that's all you need. You just need the small steps. It's just got to be small. And if you do it enough, it'll become big.
Yeah. It's kind of the whole consistency beats motivation kind of thing. Like, it's just, you just have to do the small things over and over and over again.
Yeah, absolutely. My first one is you don't know what you don't know. I say that all the time. And I truly believe it with every fiber of my body that you cannot be mad at yourself for the things that you don't know. And even for the things that you don't know that you should know, kind of thing. And I think that this is really applicable in your work life, for example, in your relationships, like we talked about, and just like in your day-to-day, the things that you don't know. So something that I really think about a lot is like kind of taking people at their word. So if they're telling you one thing to your face, instead of me sitting there and overthinking everything that they're saying and then like,
what did they mean by that?
Yeah, what did they mean by that? I'm like, well, I'm going to trust them for what they said because I don't know what I don't know. Like, if they did not tell me this, then I have no reason to think that way. So like, that's an example. And I think about this all the time. I think it really helps me with my self-doubt because I think that that's something I struggle with a lot. And I think that it helps me with like kind of a regret kind of situation where I can't be mad at myself, or I can't be mad at previous versions of myself for not knowing what I do now.
Yeah.
Because how was she supposed to know? And I think I think it helps me a lot. And it really just, I don't know, instills like self-assurance, I think.
I think it takes the pressure off of
it does
feeling like you need to make the right decision every time.
Yes.
Because sometimes, you just don't have the context, you don't have the background knowledge, you don't have and you can make a better decision or choice next time maybe, now that you do know, but you can't be mad at yourself for making a choice based off something you weren't educated on or aware of, or even just didn't know how it would pan out.
Exactly. I also think that it can help in your relationship with other people whenever you wonder to yourself, how could they not know? Like,
that's true.
Like, oh, I'm so mad at this person because they didn't, like, how can they not read my mind? I feel like it gives me a lot of patience of, well, how could they have known?
Yeah.
Like, no one told them. I didn't tell them. It was never communicated. Like, so I think that, like, with my own self-assurance and all of that, it also helps me with other people being like, well, they didn't know either.
Yeah.
Like, and then I think that it gives me a lot of patience for people.
Yeah. No, I like that one a lot. My next one is one I heard on the EmpowerHer podcast, which actually she just discontinued, but it was one of my favorite podcasts. She did it for like 6 years, but she has a lot of little phrases like this too. But she always said, we have a TBD amount of days here and we don't know the count. And that one, started to stick with me so much, especially after losing John.
Yeah.
After losing our brother at a pretty like unexpected young age. And it's something I bring in to every day probably with me, where I think about the fact that I could not wake up tomorrow. And so it really just makes me think more about the decisions that I make, the no's that I say no to, the yeses I say yes to, and just thinking like, how do I want to live this day fully? Because I don't know, I feel like living a cup-filled life is just feeling like you are filling your day, like you're not just letting the days run by you, but you're filling your days the way that you would want to.
Yeah.
If you were not going to be here that much longer.
Absolutely. Out of all of your quotes, when I read that one, I was like, I felt like that was definitely the most true of you embody that every day and that you think about it when you do make your decisions.
I think so. Yeah.
No, I really like that one. My next one also goes with the patience for other people. So apparently that's something I really need, but it is, and I say this one all the time, it might not make sense to you, but it makes sense to them. That one really helps me when I am just so annoyed with somebody, or I'm like, why would they do that?
Yeah.
Or why would they say that? And I think it really helps me just kind of like stay grounded and just, again, the patience with people, but also just like we've had a victim mindset episode before of like it helps me not feel like such personal attacks all the time. When I'm like, okay, hold on, I don't know why they're doing it this way because I wouldn't do it this way, so let me try to figure out why they are, or something like that. And even like in my relationship with Mason, for example, like he might take a different route than I would somewhere, and in the back of my head still I'm like, what the heck, like why are we doing this? And then when I ask him, it turns out it's because we're going to drop something off at the library. Or it turns out because he knows that there's construction on this route. And I'm like, oh, wow. I wouldn't have known any of that. But instead, I could have just been really like ticked off. And really like, what are we doing? And so I think it just helps the patience and the understanding. And I think that it is a good way to remind myself to understand people around me. And like that's important.
It's honestly kind of a good mind game to, before asking someone, like, what are you doing? To just kind of observe and think, okay, let me try to make sense of this.
What could they be
doing? Which I actually noticed that I do way more than Jared, because Jared will immediately, if I'm doing something out of the norm, he'll immediately be like, what are you doing? And if he's doing something out of the norm, I watch him for a while and I'm like, oh, I bet that he wanted to do this before this because of this, blah, blah, blah. And I go through that thought loop in my brain. Probably more than I need to. But I
think that it helps. I really do. I think that it helps minimize fights. It helps minimize your own self-doubt. It helps minimize irritation. And those are all things that I never want to feel. So I think it's a great way, and it's definitely something I think about all the time.
All the time. That one sticks with me a lot too. I heard it forever ago.
You're the one who told it to me.
And
years ago.
No, it really embedded itself in my life, I think. Like, I think I don't even have to think about it specifically anymore. I just am like, whatever they're doing makes sense to them. Nobody's going through life and being like, you know what I should do? I should do something really that doesn't make any sense.
Or no one's going through life going, I should really piss Bailey off today. Like, no one's thinking that. And if they are, that's a problem. But like, I don't know. I think it's a funny thing to think about.
I agree. My next one is pretty motivational again. I feel like mine are like very motivational. But one that I really, really like is experts are just beginners who have put in more reps. This is one that I heard a lot with workouts and whatnot too, obviously because the putting in reps. But this is true of anything. And for instance, like you're pregnant right now, and women who are maybe really good at being pregnant or really great moms or something like that, they just have had more practice, right? They've just had more opportunity to do the thing that you have not done yet. And so this is one thing that really encourages me when I'm starting something new, because being a beginner always feels awful. It feels like I suck at this. I think a lot about when I started my current job, how at the beginning, I didn't necessarily feel like I sucked at it, but it was just so jarring because it was new that you have to kind of get past those first few reps, really, or those first few times of being a beginner in order to get to the stage where now you're starting to make progress.
It's like your first quote. A little by little, a little becomes a lot.
Honestly,
it's like, the more reps you do, the more experience you have, the more time under your belt, and the more knowledge you have.
And I think I used to think it a lot with coaching specifically. I would look at other women who were, if anybody on here is listening and has like a side hustle or something like that, it's just encouraging, because when you are building a business or you are trying to expand your clientele or something like that, then you look at the people who are already far ahead and you compare yourself to them. This is another good one that I didn't put in here, but not comparing your chapter 1 to someone's chapter 50.
Oh, yeah.
That it's like you look at someone who is an expert who already has a solid foundation, all that stuff, and you're just starting and you're thinking, I'm never going to get there.
Yeah.
That literally they're the same person that you are. They just have more practice.
Yeah.
So I don't know. That's one that's really motivating to me when I'm starting something new. Like podcasting, for instance, when we started the podcast, there were a lot of people that were way further ahead than us, but that's just because they had more practice, you have to do episode 1 before you can do episode 60.
Absolutely.
That's
62. Woohoo! Oh, how crazy. I like that one a lot. I think it's a good reminder for self-doubt and things like that. I don't know if maybe self-doubt is something I really struggle with, because all these ones that I'm hearing about, like little by little, or like you can't be mad at what you don't know, and like these things, I'm like, oh yes, good reminder that like it's not always on you.
Yeah.
Like it doesn't mean you're a failure. It doesn't mean that you're bad at this. Like it just means you don't have that experience.
Yeah.
I actually, with being pregnant, I love talking to the people who have been moms. I don't know if she'll be listening to this, but our friend Courtney, I feel like I text her every other day because she's like a new mom of 2. And I'm like, okay, you're an expert now. What do I need to know? Or like there will be things that she's like, I mean, I still don't know. And I'm like, really? And she's like, no, I'm trying to figure it out still. And I'm like, oh, okay. Like it makes me feel a lot better. Or like our friend Shaylin is also pregnant with me. And I'll ask her things like, do you know what you're going to do for this? She's like, no. And I'm like, oh, okay, good. Like it's not just me. So no, I really like that one. My next one, this is a really helpful one that I come back to when I feel really overwhelmed, is I can't cry about having a lot on my plate when my goal was to eat. I love this quote. I think it's a very good quote for when you have really high dreams and you want a lot of success, and then you're taking steps to get there, and it can feel overwhelming and it can feel scary. But I think that this is such a good reminder of almost like you can't pity yourself kind of reminder, which I get into that mindset a lot when I'm like, I just don't want to do it, or like I'm too tired, or like there's just too much going on. And it's like, okay, well, you wanted this. You did want this. You set up the steps to get it, and now you're doing it. So you have to just keep doing it.
Yeah, that's so true. I think you did mention this quote whenever we did episode 22, which was our I'm Overwhelmed episode.
Probably. I probably found this around that time because I was overwhelmed.
Yeah. But it's almost like, yes, overwhelm is stressful, but it's what you wanted.
Yeah, it's what you wanted. So, and that can be applicable to so many things. If your goal, like one of mine has been to pay off debt, you might be working a little bit more. You might have a little bit less free time, but that was your goal. If your goal was to be a stay-at-home mom, so you didn't have to pay for the childcare and you're just feeling so overwhelmed because there's so much going on at home, that was your goal. Or like if there's another one that like with our podcast, like there's some weeks where I'm like, oh my gosh, I have so much to do. I have to make the post. I have to edit it. I have to meet with Morgan. We're doing a double book club episode this week, like things like that. And I'm like, but this is what I wanted. So I think sometimes it's a reminder of no one's forcing you to do this. Yeah. You wanted this. And I think that's a good reminder to not stop and not give up.
I think it's really grounding.
Yeah.
And it almost makes you ask, would I rather, I don't know. I don't know with the plate analogy, but it almost makes you ask, would I rather not be doing this at all, or be doing this and be kind of stressed?
Yeah.
And that's a good place to be, because there is a good chance that you might say, actually, it might be time to close the doors on this.
Like my eyes are bigger than my stomach.
Yes. Okay, yeah. I was like trying to figure out a plate analogy. I was like, maybe I don't want Thai food. Maybe I want pasta. So like maybe you have to pivot or whatever.
Yeah.
But it's good to be like, no, I wanted Thai food. I just the line is kind of long or something. Yeah. I don't know. But
these are just more mantras.
Honorable mentions. Yeah. I like that one a lot. It's very grounding.
Definitely.
One that I have that helps me with other people is, and I think someone in our book club said this or something. I think that people talk about it with therapy or trauma or mental illness a lot, but the phrase, it explains it, but it doesn't excuse it.
Ooh, yeah.
I love this one because I think someone said in our book club one time we were reading a book and they were like, yeah, but the character, you know, they did something bad, but I can't remember what the thing was, but
yeah,
he treated her bad or something like that. But, you know, it was because he had all this trauma with his mom, blah, blah, blah. And someone in our book club because we have so many mental health related experts, someone said, well, yeah, that's why we say it's an explanation, not an excuse. Because I think it really helps me to empathize with someone and be like, I can make up the reason for why they might have done that.
Yeah.
Like it made sense to them, you know, and maybe it made sense to them because of this awful thing that happened in their past or something like that. Or maybe it made sense to them because they just don't have the tools in their toolbox to figure it out, you know, something like that. But it also doesn't mean that I have to excuse their behavior. They can still have behaved in a way that was hurtful or was harmful or was inappropriate or unprofessional or whatever the scenario.
Yeah.
And I can still find a reason. The reason I say this is because I feel like I give people the benefit of the doubt a lot.
Yeah.
But then later I think about it and I'm like, is it stupid of me to feel mad about that or feel offended about that or feel upset about that? And a lot of the times it's not. It's just that I can figure out the reason why they did it or why it made sense to them. But honestly, it's comforting to me to know that doesn't excuse them behaving poorly. Yeah. It just explains them behaving poorly. And two things can be true, you know, that they can have a reason for behaving poorly and I can be upset that they did.
Yeah. I think it's a really good one. I think that it helps draw boundaries within yourself. I also think it helps like stop chasing the closure or chasing the explanation, because sometimes like they might have an explanation, but it still isn't excusable.
Yeah.
I like that one. My next one, and you guys hear me say a lot that I am not everyone's favorite cup of tea, and that's okay. Like that's something I've really grown to be okay with. But a quote that I really like is, I am too full of life to be half loved.
I love that.
I really like that one because I feel like for a long time, I really made myself quieter around people, or I tried not to be too much, or right after hanging out with someone, I'd be like, I was way too much. And I do think that the quote of I am too full of life to be half loved is so true in my case. Like I am happy. I do want to talk to people. I do want to like hear all about them. I do want to tell them all about me. Like, and I think that that's something that I struggled with for a long time, of just feeling, I don't know, like bad about it.
Yeah.
And then somewhere along my journey of self-acceptance and self-love, I realized like being half loved is not okay. And I can't surround myself with people that make me feel half loved.
Yeah, absolutely. No, I think that's such a good reminder. And it goes really well with what I was saying with how you were saying boundaries. It helps set boundaries.
Yeah.
I feel like that's a really good one to just know in the back of your brain that this is how I want to be treated. And it's okay because I'm a full human. I'm a full living person. So I like that. I have my next one is, I want to change more than I want to stay the same.
Oh, that's a good one.
I know I initially heard this one off the Women Inspiring Women podcast with Melanie Mitro. And honestly, a lot of quotes that I have in my back pocket are from the time when I was doing coaching, because one of the forefront things they recommended was doing 30 to 60 minutes a day of personal development, either reading a personal development book or listening to a personal development podcast or something like that. And she said that this was one of the things that motivated her to start her morning routine. Was her alarm would go off, and the first thing she would say to herself is, well, after being like, oh, I don't want to get up, would be, I want to change more than I want to stay the same. And that helped her actually get out of bed and do what she wanted to do. And I think about this a lot because I don't want to be the same person my whole life. And already I feel like I've been so many people in my whole life.
Yeah.
And I don't I want to constantly be evolving and growing and changing. And so when something is hard or when I'm starting a new routine, kind of like the expert thing, but when I'm starting a new routine or starting something that is out of my comfort zone, I have to think this is a good focusing guide for me of just, I want to change more than I want to stay the same.
That one is actually a quote that we have in our house with me and Mason, because Mason loves that quote.
I love that.
I think he's told you that he heard you say it on a podcast episode before.
He did tell me that at volleyball one time,
Yeah, that he heard you say it. And so now it's something that like he lives by, and it's going to be too hard to explain, but like this little slideshow thing in our house kind of, and that quote was on there. So I see it like every day.
I love that.
And it's a good quote. It's a good reminder to get up and keep going, and life goes on, and like you just have to keep moving forward.
Yeah. And even if your goal is not, I want to start a business or I want to start a workout routine or something like that, even if your goal is just, I want to start paying attention to speaking less and listening more or something like that. If that's your goal and you are constantly reminding yourself, I want to change more than I want to stay the same, that'll help you shut your mouth and listen more, I just think it can apply to any goal. So I love that.
It literally can.
I'm glad he likes it.
He loves it. I have this one. It is not something that, well, actually, all of my quotes have to do with self-doubt and like self-assurance. So woohoo. But I saw this one on Pinterest, and it's kind of a longer one, but it says, strange, isn't it, that you know yourself better than anyone else, yet you crumble at the words of someone who hasn't lived a second in your life. Focus on your own voice, for that is the only one that matters.
Aww.
Really like that one. I think that just self-doubt is something I've been really working on, and knowing who I am as a person and not letting outside voices and outside opinions like determine my worth. And so when I read that one for the first time, I was like, I love that, because it is weird. Like, why are we letting these people that don't know us and don't know our intentions and don't know who we are and like don't know your hearts, why are we letting them dictate how we feel
100%.
and dictate like who we think we are, when that's like, when we know ourselves better than anybody?
Yeah.
I love that one.
Also, I think sometimes it helps with if you are trying to do something different and maybe it doesn't align with what someone else is doing. It's the EmpowerHer podcast that I talked about earlier. Something she would say a lot was, don't let someone who's never done what you want to do impact how you feel about what you're doing.
Yeah.
Like, if you want to become a mom, but you're listening, like I'm saying things to you about why you shouldn't.
Yeah.
Like, why would you listen to me?
Right.
Or
I'm telling you all the reasons that you should be a mom. And you're like, I don't want that. That doesn't make any sense.
Yes. Yeah. Or there's just so many examples of where it's like that person has never even done what you want to do. They haven't been in your shoes. They haven't tried what you want to try. Like why are you letting them speak on it anyway? So I don't know. It's just interesting. I saw a quote recently. It was kind of similar to that ish. But it was like, an athlete is never going to judge you for the workout you did, or a millionaire is never going to judge you for starting a business, or blah, blah, blah. And it was like, all of the people that have never done these things are the ones that are going to hate,
Yeah.
And it's like,
why? Yeah. And why are we listening to that?
Exactly. Yeah. Why are you letting that influence your life? Yeah. That's cute. That sounds very Pinteresty. I loved it. My last official one is, if you never ask, the answer is always no.
Oh, we live by that one.
I live by this in everything I do.
Yes, me too.
Especially at work, for instance. My main job is to get people to host blood drives, and I will ask and ask and ask and ask. And to be honest, sometimes just knowing that they're not even necessarily saying no because they don't want to. They might be saying no because it's a bad time. They might be not responding because they're busy. They may have, there's so many reasons that someone could say no, but don't say no for them.
Yeah.
Don't just not ask, because the thing is, if you don't ask, then you're in the same spot that if you would have asked and they said no.
Yeah.
But if you do ask, there's 50-50 chance they say yes. So I don't know. I think about that in work a lot. I used to think about it a lot when I was selling body workouts and whatnot, that I was like, look, I shouldn't remove the option from someone else. They're an adult. They can absolutely say no to me. But if I never ask, the answer is always going to be no. And what's the worst that happens? they say no, and then I'm still in the same spot.
Yeah. Like, I already assumed that they would.
Or they could say yes, and then they could start loving it and start a workout routine like I did, and feel way better in their skin. And then I'm ridding them of that opportunity. Like, that's not fair.
Yeah.
So I don't know. And I think about this a lot in cases where something happens, like you're at the airport and like your flight, something got changed or whatever, and you just don't want to ask, or you're at a restaurant and they bring you a drink and you don't like it and you don't want to ask to get a new drink.
Yeah.
It's like, if they have every opportunity to say no to you, just, they're humans, they're adults, they can say no, but you might as well ask.
I was going to say, I live by this one so much too, but I really like day to day at something, even as small as like asking for a new drink or something. Like, this happens with me and Mason all the time, because in his head, he's like, everyone's going to say no. And in my head, I'm like, why would they say no? So let's say like there's 3 people and there's only a table with 2 chairs. I see another chair. I'm going to go ask them if I can borrow their chair.
Right.
Most times they're like, oh yeah, we're not using it all. Sometimes they're like, oh, I'm really sorry, my friend's in the bathroom. And I'm like, oh my God, that's totally fine. I'll go ask this other table.
Right.
Like, and it's really funny, small things like that. We're like, who's it hurting to ask?
Yes.
Like, we never know the answer if you don't ask.
Yeah. And to be honest, this is not that hasn't always been instinctual to me. I feel like I was a little bit more like Mason for a long time. And then you and one of my really good friends are both more you just assume things are going to go well, you know, like you assume people are going to say yes. And so after I realized that, there was one time I had kind of an epiphany where I realized that, and I was like, yeah, you should just always ask. Like, why not? Who's it going to hurt? Nobody.
Yeah.
Even if they say no.
Yeah.
It's not going to hurt anything.
It's so funny that you say that you haven't always had that, because I always feel like if I'm not going to ask somebody because I'm scared, you'll always do it for me.
That's true. That
should just be the big sister part, though.
I think it's the big sister.
I would do that for Chloe.
Or like for other people. Like I'm not as likely to do it for myself, but I will for other people. But, but now I'm like, no, why not do it for myself?
I remember I was on my sister-in-law's bachelorette trip, and we went somewhere, and one of my other sister-in-laws is I think she was like I don't know if she's vegetarian or vegan or what, but her meal was supposed to come with bacon, and she was like, do you think that they would sub it out with something else? And I was like, yeah, I definitely think so. And she was like, I'm too scared to ask. And I was like, I'll do it. I'll ask it for you. And she's like, really? And I'm like, yeah. And so no, because what the worst they're gonna say is no.
Yeah, if they say I can't sub that, you get something else.
Yeah,
whatever.
we say bummer. Okay, I kind of figured, but blah, 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 and you just keep going.
Yeah,
I like it. My last one, and it's kind of an honorable mention, but I love this one. It says, to not dance when you had the health and could hear the music could be one of the biggest regrets of your life.
Aww.
I love that quote. Obviously, we both love actually dancing, so you have that, but it just reminds me of the other things, like take joy in things and love yourself and ask the questions, and like, why are we not? If we are looking back in 70 years saying, man, why didn't I do that?
Yeah, my knees suck and I can't hear the music anymore.
Yeah.
I can't dance. Like, that's, why do it while you can?
Exactly. So I really like that one. I think it's really metaphorical, but could also be taken literally.
No,
because I will always dance when the music's on, and I'm like, why aren't you dancing?
I love that one too. I had an honorable mention as well. It's the famous Maya Angelou quote, and I've been thinking about it a lot lately, just with friend groups changing and whatnot, and I don't know, just when I think about legacy you leave on the world or that sort of thing. Honestly, I think about death so much. But like but just about what will people think of me when I'm gone kind of thing. And it's the one that says, I've learned that people will forget what you said, people will forget what you did, but people will never forget how you made them feel. And I just want people, I think about this a lot, how we talk about reflecting on as soon as you leave hanging out with someone. Do you feel like, man, I'm spent, that person kind of sucked the energy out of me? Or do you feel like, wow, I feel so myself, I don't regret anything I said or did, you know what I mean? Yeah. Just that person made you feel so at home. It's one of those things where I'm like, I want, when people leave hanging out with me, I really hope they get in their cars and go, God, I just love Morgan. Yeah. Or think, wow, I really enjoy spending time with her.
She made me feel really good about myself.
Yeah. Or she made me feel really understood or seen or heard or whatever. I think about that a lot with the impact that I want to make on people.
Yeah.
And it's obviously we all mess up and we can't do that all the time. But I always hope that I'm not making someone feel diminished or less than, or, you know, something like that. Yeah. So I've just been thinking a lot about that quote and just how I want people to feel when they leave me. And so I
think it's a really good reminder that kindness goes a long way. And yeah, I think it's a good reminder of how you treat people.
Yeah, definitely. So yeah, those are all of our mantras.
Yeah.
Living a cup-filled life. And I'd love to hear what our listeners' mantras are. If you have go-to things that you say to yourself to keep yourself motivated or make yourself feel comforted or make you feel more reassured and that sort of thing, I would love to hear them. I know a lot of people have like Bible verses or quotes or things like that they have in journals or on their mirrors or things like that. So I would love to hear some. The podcast episode that I mentioned before that my friend said she listened to, it was the Transform podcast. So you could also go there if you want some more after this. But otherwise, I would love to hear what our listeners.
Me too. Like
what
quotes you guys live by.
Yeah.
What helps you get through the days.
Yeah.
I also think it's going to be so interesting because your quotes were a lot of motivational and a lot of keep going. And my quotes were a lot of don't doubt yourself, love yourself. So I think they're two fun, different journeys. So I'm excited to hear what other people think.
Agreed.
Yeah. Well, guys, thank you for listening. As always, share this with someone who could benefit from it. And we love you guys. And we'll talk to you next week.
Cheers.